Our feet stood inside your gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem.
And it can never happen again. I assure you that our council, our staff, our first responders, our elected officials, we won't forget. I won't turn this into politics, but I wish it was under better circumstances. And as I said earlier, we will absolutely, as a community, come back stronger than before. We have no choice. So thank you.
You'll have to excuse me. I put in prepared remarks because I want to make sure that it's on. Can you hear me now? How's this? Okay? All right. Please forgive me. I did put in, I do have prepared remarks because I want to make sure that we get it all in and that we don't fear. How's this now? Is that better? Okay. I'll hold it really close. I'm sorry. With COVID, we're not used to putting anything close to your mouth other than a mask, so excuse me. 4 days ago, I was in Israel, and I was boarding a plane to come back here because the 4th of July parade is something that is so important to the fabric of Highland Park. And I didn't want to miss that because as a city council member, I think it's important that we all come together, whether it's in any type of citizenry at all. But I have to say, it was hard to leave Israel. First of all, I had to leave my son. I had to leave my family. I don't see them much. With COVID, I didn't see them at all. And so it was really a sacrifice to come back, but it was a sacrifice that I was excited about because I know the good of this community. And I have to tell you, what impressed me most about being back in Israel was the vibrancy that I always feel there, and the way people are outside and they're going about their lives, and life goes on. And if there's one thing I could have never imagined coming back to, it would be coming back to a situation which I've seen and which we all know exists in Israel, but we don't think about in our community. Highland Park and Highland Park, Eduardo Uvaldo, 69 of Waukegan. We will forever remember these innocent victims murdered by gun violence. May their memory be forever. Each day, buoyed by the collective spirit of resolve and purpose evident throughout our steadfast home. No single action will heal us, but many small steps taken.
Rabbi Notik, the rabbi of the Russian-speaking Jewish community. This here, this one. Rabbi Shai Harel, a pillar of this community.
to Highland Park. For 42 years, they've
Appreciate it. Honored rabbis, honored dignitaries, honored assembly, honored shluchim, Chabad emissaries, among others, who have expressed their unwavering support during the last few days and whose prayers have brought healing and solace to the victims, their families, and the community. One of the victims It might be better if I speak without this. No. Looks like ice cream. Maybe I should. Joking aside, but that's how we cope, even in these times. One of the victims, Leah Rachel Bat Dina Henya, whom I visited first in the emergency room and later in the hospital, shared with me how she had just recently finished reading Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. And that book has been a great source of help to her. I thought I would spend the next few minutes telling a Chabad story about Viktor Frankl, both in her honor, the honor of Rachel Bat Dina Henya, and in honor of all the other victims, and in the honor of all of us here and elsewhere. We now go into the informal part of the program. The first Chabad rabbi in Vienna, Austria, is a man by the name of Abraham Biederman. He's been there since the early 80s, and several years later, 1995 to be exact, he was told by his secretary that there's a woman outside who would like to see him. He acknowledged the woman, and he said, have her come in. The woman comes in, elderly woman, and she says to him, Rabbi Biederman, you think you are the first emissary of Chabad in Austria, that your assumption until now is incorrect. I am the first emissary of Chabad in Vienna. She introduced herself as Margarita Chayas. She was raised in Vienna. She made it to the United States just before the Holocaust on one of the last vessels. And it was around 1959 that she met the Rebbe, the leader of the Chabad movement, the last leader, last Rebbe. She was an opera singer, only to women, just kidding. And she expressed her life story to the Rebbe, and she also shared with the Rebbe that from time to time she does travel to Vienna. The Rebbe asked her if she can do him a favor. He thanked Margarita Chayas for the information, and he made a call to Dr. Frankl. He had never met him, in spite of the fact that Rabbi Biederman had been in Austria since the early 80s. And as a matter of fact, when he would send, recognized the name because when he would send his calendar, his Jewish calendar for the year, Dr. Frankl would respond annually with a gift. So he called Dr. Frankl. Dr. Frankl at this time, this is again in 1995, we're skipping 1995 when he hears the story. Rabbi Biederman called Dr. Frankl Rabbi Biederman called Dr. Frankel and said, asked if he can come over. He introduced himself as Rabbi Biederman, the rabbi of Chabad in Vienna. Dr. Frankel said, as you know, I'm aged. He was 90 years old at the time, and it's not easy for me to meet in person. So Dr. Biederman on the phone said, may I ask you a question? Do you recognize the name Rabbi Schneerson? He wanted to verify the story. And Dr. Frankel said, of course I do. And he said in German, Ich schuld ihm sehr viel. I owe him very, very much. Ich schätze dem Rebbe sehr. I value, I revere the Rebbe very much. Hat mir geholfen in a sehr kritische Zeit in mein Leben, in a sehr kritische Moment. He helped me in some critical moments of my life. Let us all resolve. We will not despair. We will lead. We will continue our path with resolve. We will be strong, and God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Song is a language beyond words. Please join me. Unified Jewish sense of strength and peace.
Join a mitzvah fair for children. This will be on Sunday, July 17th, right here at the Central Avenue Synagogue. Those in hospitals and packaging school supplies for those less fortunate. Charity each day. Details about the contest can be found on our website, Chabad.org. 5, community. If you need a mezuzah, please reach out and we will be glad to help. Now, if you have a mezuzah, great. We can help you get it double-checked with a sofer to make sure that it is in tip-top shape. 6, finally, this is the hardest request of all. We need to change ourselves. When the world feels like it is overwhelmed with hate, then we respond with loving kindness. We can't let a sense of fear and help